to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity and uphold her honor and glory. So help me God. Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. You may be seated. Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, represented at this occasion by His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON. The chairman of this lecture and former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR. Thank you. Let me also at this juncture acknowledge the Deputy Chairman of this occasion, His Excellency Ambassador Babagana Kingibe, GCON. Our guest speaker, the Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari, CFR, former governor of Katsina State and former Speaker of the House of Representatives. Let me acknowledge His Excellency, the Governor of Katsina State, Governor Diko Umar Rada, who's with us here, Your Excellency. Let me also acknowledge the presence here of former governors who are here, and Your Excellency, permit me to specially recognize the presence here of a former governor and one of those who birthed the governing APC, and I'm talking about His Excellency Chief Bisi Akande, who's with us here. Distinguished senators and honorable members of the House of Representatives who are here present, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, CON, the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, ministers, special advisors, permanent secretaries, heads of government agencies here present, the heads of the security agencies here, the National Security Advisor, the Chief of Defense Staff, and the service chiefs, as well as the Inspector General of Police. Let me acknowledge that sitting in for the National Chairman of the governing APC is the National Secretary, Senator Ajibola Bashiru, who's with us here. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, very distinguished guests, I do acknowledge that the hall is filled with elder statesmen, and so many of them are here today. At the appropriate time, you will be given the due recognition you so deserve after having served the fatherland. Our discussants, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it has been 25 years since Nigeria and Nigerians recommitted to democratic ideals and reignited the flame of civil rule that had been extinguished by many years of military incursions into governance and the political space. True, at independence, the nation took its destiny into its own hands, but that was short-lived. Then followed a series of events that culminated in a dark period of the nation's history as brothers took up arms against brothers. At the end of it, with no victor and no vanquished, returning to the tenets of democracy was challenging until 1979, when another shot at democracy was taken and aborted barely 5 years down the lane. Now, what could have been and what could have taken root 10 years later, precisely in 1993, was stillborn. And another period of the stamping of boots on the political space up until 25 years ago, when the people said, never again. It is instructive, Your Excellencies, that on this 25th anniversary of democratic governance, the one who presides over the nation's affairs is one who was in the trenches during the struggle to actualize June 12, which is now the symbol of Nigeria's democracy. His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, along with other patriots, some gone, some still here, can look back and reflect, as with other Nigerians, on 25 years of sustained democracy and prospects for the future. And that is what today's public lecture is all about. My name is Cyril Stover, and I here now invite His Excellency, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, to now come forward and set the tone for this public lecture, the SGF.
Your Excellency, the Vice President, Senator Shetima Shim, JCON, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a doyen of democracy, Dr. Ebele Jonathan, GCFR. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All protocol duly established and respected. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 2024 Democracy Day Public Lecture with a theme, 25 Years of Enduring Democracy, prospects for the future. Organized as part of activities lined up to commemorate 25 years of unbroken democratic governance in Nigeria. This celebration affords us the opportunity to reflect on the contributions and sacrifices of our national heroes and heroines who fought for the entrenchment of democratic rule in our dear country. Many of them paid the supreme sacrifice, while others were forced into exile or unjustly detained for many years. Some of those who survived the onslaught have fortunately continued to play key roles in our democratic process. Today's event provides us with opportunities as a nation and as a government to salute the courage and commitment of Nigerians for remaining steadfast and for believing in the values of democracy, despite numerous challenges facing our nation and the West African sub-region as a whole. Most significantly, this celebration provides a window of opportunity for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to reiterate his unwavering commitment to democracy, rule of law, and good governance. He has demonstrated this commitment by approving the 2024 Democracy Day program. Our democratic journey is one of optimism, as reversal is never contemplated. Your Excellency underscores the importance and significance of democracy and the role it plays in engendering sustainable socio-economic development for the good of the people. This morning, we have in our midst a former president, His Excellency Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan GCFR, who is chairman of this important occasion. You are welcome, sir. The choice of the former president is predicated on his impeccable democratic credentials and statesmanship. Once again, welcome. I have the honor also of welcoming His Excellency Vice President Shetima Kashim, GCON, who has graciously accepted to be with us this morning. We welcome the representative of the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and other distinguished and honorable members of the National Assembly. Our keynote speaker for the day is a former Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives and former Governor of Katsina State, His Excellency Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari, CFR. His selection is premised on sacrifices he made for democracy, along with his colleagues in the Senate, and for serving the nation, particularly when the dark clouds capable of derailing our democratic experiment lingered ominously overhead. You recall the infamous third-term agenda. I'm sure he will also share such rich experiences that will serve as lessons for all of us. We also welcome members of the National Assembly, members of the Federal Executive Council, the elder statesmen, His Excellency Ambassador Baba Gana-Kingibe, GCON, His Excellency Chibisi Akonde, CON, CFR, and Pius Akin Yelure, governors, members of the diplomatic corps, service chiefs, and other top military and police officers here present. We have assembled for this public lecture a formidable panel of statesmen, public commentators, and analysts with rich pedigree as discussants to add value to the topic. Our team of rapporteurs are also on hand to record the key recommendations that will help in developing policies, legislations, systems, and practices. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, I welcome you once again. I wish all of us a very fascinating time at this symposium. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, now may we put our hands together as I invite the Deputy Chairman of today's occasion, His Excellency Ambassador Baba Gana-Kingibe, GCON, to deliver his remarks.
Your Excellency, the Chairman of this occasion, former President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, I now understand that there is advantage in adopting the usual practice of I stand by the existing protocol, because as I survey the room, there are far too many distinguished and excellent people around for me to omit anyone. So I greet you all. And I bring you the glad tidings that, in fact, tomorrow is the 12th of June. You will recall that it was on that date, some 31 years ago, that the fertile seed of our democracy that has endured without any interruption for the past 25 years was planted. It is right and proper that we memorialize the legacy of the events of that date, such as setting it aside as our Democracy Day, as we are doing today. It is not often that those who have made positive impact in history live to celebrate the fruits of their sacrifice and their labor. Many of the heroes who made June 12th possible and defended it when it was savagely assaulted are sadly no more with us today. Its principal architect, Chief M.K.O. Abiola, and several heroes of our democracy, including Chief Alfred Rewane, Chief Kudirat Abiola, Chief Alex Ibru, and many others, both known and unknown, made the ultimate sacrifice and gave their lives for our democracy to survive. Many went underground, with some like Chief Frank Kokori and many others being eventually hunted down and incarcerated. Again, many were driven into exile abroad to continue the struggle for democracy in Nigeria, and after victory to return and ensure its sustenance. We have the heavy duty to make sure that the sacrifices and the labor of these our heroes are not in vain. Indeed, it is a source of joy and satisfaction that for the second time, it is under the leadership of one of such heroes, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that Nigeria is marking June 12th as democracy. Life is full of ironies. I'm honored and grateful to the organizers of this lecture for inviting me to make some remarks here today. As indicated in the program and as narrated by the SJF, the keynote address will be delivered by His Excellency, the Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari. His Excellency has put his stamp on the progressive development of our democracy from two critical advantage points. One as a one-time Speaker of the House of Representatives, and secondly, as the immediate past Governor of Katsina State. As has been announced, the chairman of this occasion, His Excellency former President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, occupies a unique position in the annals of our democratic journey. He will always be remembered as the only incumbent president who, despite advice and pressure to the contrary, willingly and gracefully conceded the victory of his opponent in a hotly contested election. He continues to be deservedly celebrated at home, as we have witnessed all day this morning, and abroad, as one of the contemporary heroes of democracy. Finally, we hope that the special guest of honor today, and the representative of His Excellency the President, who is a living embodiment and a true defender and practitioner of democracy, will of course give us his perspectives when he makes his closing remarks. I believe that it is from these gentlemen far more than from me, that you and indeed the entire nation wants to hear. I will therefore avoid the temptation and the pitfall into which many first speakers fall on occasions such as this, when they may anticipate those speakers who follow, thus taking the wind out of their sail. My remarks will thus be short, highlighting only a few germane points. First off, let us remind ourselves why democracy is so important. It is the only system of governance that derives its legitimacy directly from us, we the people, through our consent, freely given through periodic, free and fair elections, transparent elections. Over the last 25 years, we have held seven general elections, producing 5 presidents, 2 of whom completed their 2-term tenures. While we admit to a wide gap between theory and practice, we can at least draw satisfaction that democracy has provided Nigeria political stability and continuity in governance for the last 25 years. Furthermore, during this period of uninterrupted democracy, fundamental freedoms have been enhanced and generally protected. Personal freedoms to hold and express beliefs and opinions, freedom of association, freedom of the press, civil society activism, including trade union activism, etc., have all relatively prospered and thrived. Similarly, advancement of the rule of law and strengthening the democratic institutions of such as INEC, the judiciary, and the police have been ongoing work in progress. Efforts continue to be made to enthrone accountability through such mechanisms as parliamentary oversight and the work of anti-corruption and similar agencies. There is work to be done, but the beginnings have been made. So, government by the consent of the people, civil liberties and personal freedoms, the rule of law, strong institutions, and accountability are indeed some of the strong pillars on which democracy rests. You might ask whether we have succeeded in entrenching these pillars in the last 25 years. And of course, the straightforward answer is no. Building and sustaining strong democracies is a lifelong endeavor for any nation. It is always work in progress. Even older democracies, as shown by the just concluded European Parliament elections in Europe, and such as in the United States, which has been practicing democracy for the last 250 years, they are still grappling with the challenges of perfecting their democracies. You will thus see why, if I say that relatively speaking, and given our young democratic life of only 25 years, and our very wide national diversity, you will see why I would say that we're not really doing badly after all. The final point which I would like to touch upon is the need for us to make a distinction between democracy as a system and governance as a process. Winston Churchill was stated to have said something to the effect that democracy produces an imperfect form of government, but no better alternative has yet been invented. Here in Nigeria, we have come to the conclusion that the worst civilian government is better than the best military regime. Both these sentiments reflect the general frustration at the failure of democratic governments to always deliver expected services in a timely and tidy fashion. Democratic governance is not easy. Every one of our governments of the last 25 years had endeavored with mixed successes to confront a myriad of national challenges pertaining to security, to economic prosperity, to inclusion, population explosion, unemployment, fair and even development, corruption, national cohesion, infrastructural deficits, provision of social services such as education and health and housing. The list goes on. These challenges from independence to date persist, and they will continue to persist because these are the routine preoccupations of government. They are the continuing challenges of governance, not that of democracy as a system. In confronting them, governments determine their priorities and make their choices. We can have robust debates about these choices and priorities. But can we not do that in a civil and mutually respectful manner? Demonization and vilification never solve any problem. They are only weapons to which those who run out of argument resort. We must never forget that the beauty of democracy is that the people always have the opportunity to deliver their verdict on their government's performance at the next election cycle. Until then, everyone's patriotic duty is to be patient and extend the maximum cooperation possible so that as a nation, we succeed together. For our government's success is our collective success. I'm confident that with all hands on deck, the attainment of Nigeria's goals of a united, prosperous, and democratic nation can be assured. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
His Excellency Ambassador Babagana Kingibe, GCON. A key factor in the other half of the principal architect of June 12, the late Chief M.Q. Abiola. Your Excellencies, I do understand that even at this lecture, the Abiola family has been represented by Abdul Mumini Abiola, who's somewhere within this. Thank you. Thank you, Excellency. And now, for the purposes of delivering the opening remarks at this public lecture, let me invite one who's been generally acclaimed, even by the words of the last speaker, has been a key factor in the sustenance of this 25 years of democracy which Nigeria enjoys today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR. Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated. Please be seated. Let me appreciate His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima, the Vice President, who is here in his own capacity and also representing the President. Thank you for being with us. His Excellency Senator George Akume, the Secretary of Government of the Federation, thank you for organizing this program and inviting us to come and be with you. The Deputy Chairman, you are actually not Deputy, but Co-Chair. Ambassador Kingibe, thank you for your brilliant speech. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, thank you for coming to honor this country today. Our keynote speaker and my good friend, the former governor of Katsina State, His Excellency Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masri, we'll be happy, we'll listen to you because you are the key actor today. The Governor of Katsina State, His Excellency Umar Rada, Head of Service, distinguished senators, and other members of the National Assembly that are here with us, our honorable ministers are here with us, our service chiefs, Inspector General of Police, heads of security and intelligence services are here with us, our senior government functionaries, our elder statesmen, and our leaders. And let me also appreciate the representative of Fabiola family, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to join all of you at this very significant event today. I thank the federal government for inviting me to chair the 2024 Democracy Day Anniversary Public Lecture, a very momentous occasion to mark our nation's 25 years of uninterrupted democratic practice. I may not say much because I'm to chair the occasion. We listen to Masari, the keynote speaker, and like Kingibe said, he's very, very competent. I remember when we just came in 1999, before we know, the House of Representatives become another thing. There was an attempt to impeach a sitting president. And nobody knew where that would have ended us. But along the line, Masari took over and stabilized the House until he left. And again, he had just finished serving as the governor of Katsina State. So it's a good material to speak well. I also know the discussant that Kadaria is a well-known voice. Hamzat, Lawal, and Chido. These are known voices among very young people. So it will be a very good moment that we will listen to them. 25 years ago, on May 29, 1999, the Fourth Republic was birthed, and our nation embarked on a historic journey that will forever shape our country's future. Against all odds, we emerged from the shadows of military rule and ushered in a new era of democratic governance. The achievement is a testament to the resilience, courage, and unwavering determination of the Nigerian people. At this point, let me commend His Excellency General Abdulsalami Abubakar, who stood against all temptations and pressure to prolong military rule in Nigeria. You will, because at least I've been a president, and I know that it's not easy for a military head of state to step aside under a year for civilians to take over. We have to always commend him. Today we look back with a sense of gratitude to God and appreciation to many of the heroes of our nation who through selfless service and courage worked towards the democracy that we are enjoying today. When we mention June 12th, we remember Chief M.K. Abiola for his contributions to the consolidation of our democracy. In fact, King Ibe mentioned the key actors, including the late Abiola's wife, Kodirat, and others. And of course, he was the elected vice president of the country. He was the vice president of M.K. Abiola. So that's an area he knows more than me, so I didn't want to bore your ears by mentioning names again. But we also remember the famous letter signed by 18 northern elders and delivered by Chief Solomon La, Alhaji Abubakar Remi, Malam Adamu Siroma, Ahmed Joda, and Chief Sunday Awini to General Sani Abacha demanding the return of Nigeria to democratic rule. A military dictator sitting, and some bloody civilians moved in with a letter saying, please, we need democracy. That's another way of saying, please get out, we want to take over from you. For the military, that is treason. So some people entered and confronted the lion, also to urge him to come up with a democratic setting. The full signatories to that letter were Chief Solomon La, Alhaji Adamu Siroma, Alhaji Lawal Kaita, Alhaji Abubakar Remi, Dr. Yoshia Ayo, Professor Ango Abdulhai, Dr. Suleiman Kumo, Malam Lawan Dambazao, Alhaji Iro Abubakar Dan Musa, Alhaji Sule Lamido, Professor Jerry Gana, Colonel Abubakar Uma, Honorable Isaac Shahau, Dr. Usman Bugaji, Alhaji Muhammad Azaki, Dr. Steve Ashema, Dr. Farouk Abdulaziz, and Professor Musa Yakubu. These are the 18 people who signed a letter urging Abacha to end military rule for Nigeria to go back to a democratic setting. Considering our political history as a country, 25 years of unbroken democracy is a milestone worthy of celebration. As it shows, we are making some progress in democratic governance despite the challenges we face in our journey of nationhood. Notably, the path towards democratic consolidation has been a difficult one. The first, second, and third republics of our democratic experiments were abruptly ended by the military amid political crisis and social tension. But after the G8 letter of Solomon La and others, on May 8, 1998, members of the G34, in a letter signed by Dr. Alex Ekweme, the former vice president, had also urged General Abacha to reject his adoption as presidential candidate and quit power. Of course, we all remember, for the young people, they don't know, but we remember the only person that they had fit. So Alex Ekweme and others also confronted that. The return of democracy in 1999, after many years of military reign, signaled a new phase in our national journey and our shared vision of unity, peace, and progress. In the last 25 years, we have made modest progress in this regard amid some challenges. As a nation, we built an economy that was once the biggest in Africa, in the African continent. We experienced significant infrastructural growth, made strides in the arts and sports, and recorded many peaceful political transitions at the national and subnational levels. Democracy has also brought about improved access to governance, amplified silent voices, and reinforced the idea of sovereignty. Whenever I tune to Nigerian stations, television stations, especially in the morning, and I see young men and women discussing and interrogating social issues and holding government accountable, I always appreciate democracy. Today, the citizens have come to terms with the idea of representative governance, as they have over the years expressed their power to choose their leaders and demand accountable leadership and good governance. Our civic space has largely flourished with a vibrant civil society community, increased media freedoms, and very, very active press. Our journey to democratic consolidation has not been an easy one. It has been a mixed bag of gains and losses, progress and pain. We have continued to deal with the issue of insecurity, social inequality, unemployment, as well as electoral disputes and violence. Despite the challenges associated with democracy, the general feeling is that citizens prefer democracy to any other form of government, not only in Nigeria, but almost across the world. As a nation, our resolve has been challenged many times, but through shared faith and unity, we have continued to march on, and we will continue to march on. We must underscore the fact that democracy is a journey and not a destination. Our democracy, though still young, has weathered storms, overcome challenges, and proven its endurance. It has become a beacon of hope, not just for our nation, but for the entire continent. In these 25 years, through four-power transition from one president to the other, I'm not talking about the election, because like King Ibe said, two presidents hand over to themselves. But we have four situations where presidents hand over to another president, even in the case where a sitting president died. These are challenges that could have brought this republic to another end, but we survived it. Democratic institutions have been expanded. This progress, while commendable, also reminds us that our work is not yet done. We still have more to do. It is therefore time to make this journey seamless through good citizenship, patriotic service, as well as sacrificial and exemplary stewardship. We must continue to build upon the foundations laid, deepen our democratic roots, and ensure that the dividends of democracy are felt by all Nigerians, regardless of their economic status, or social status, or geographical status. For democracy to yield its desired dividends, the political class and elite must lead by example and work with unity of purpose to guarantee peace and social justice to the citizens. And our lifestyle must reflect that we are elected people. A situation where children of political office holders go to parties and start spraying dollars is not the kind of democracy we want to witness in this country. We must work together despite our political differences, accommodate our diversity, and prioritize policies that will impact the lives of our citizens. As we project towards celebrating a golden jubilee of our uninterrupted democracy, which I believe we will, we are celebrating 25 years, we'll also celebrate the golden jubilee. It's imperative to state that we need to work assiduously towards further strengthening state institutions so that they can withstand the shocks that threaten democratic governance. Democracy as a form of government is anchored on sets of promises in line with the nation's development and growth aspirations. The fulfillment of these promises reinforces the citizens' trust and faith in the government. As we celebrate 25 years of unbroken democracy, we look to the future with the hope that democracy has come to stay and that democracy will continue to take firm roots in our nation, and we will have cause to celebrate a centenary of uninterrupted democratic governance. Of course, we wish our grandchildren luck to celebrate that. To attain such a feat, the political actors and everyone at the helm of affairs in this country must listen to the voices of the citizens. As I round off, let me say that we need to come up with a model of democratic practice that will be more inclusive and reinforces social cohesion. The zero-sum kind of politics where a winner takes it all has not helped to foster unity and political justice. A political party, for example, that scores up to 30% of votes during an election, either at the national or subnational level, should have something to go home with. I'm not clearly recommending proportional representation, but different governments come up with models of democracy that suits them. After all, the presidency we are talking about, all presidents of this country, and all presidents of the world don't emerge through the same process. Nigeria will elect our president directly. In a number of countries, presidents are elected indirectly. The powers of a president are defined by different constitutions, and so on and so forth. So our National Assembly can also look at models that will suit us. The zero sum that a party that even sometimes gets 40% of votes, especially at the state levels, will have nothing, give rise to this do-or-die politics. That zero-sum approach, I think, is inimical to consolidating and strengthening our democracy. Let me conclude by saying that together we can forge a Nigeria where every citizen has a voice, where opportunities abound, and where the promise of a better tomorrow is not just a dream, but a tangible reality. Let us therefore celebrate this milestone with pride and renewed determination. Let us ensure that the next 25 years of our democracy are even more transformative and inclusive and more prosperous for all of us. In line with the wordings of our national anthem, I think the second stanza, to hand over to our children a banner without stain. We must not hand over to our children a democracy built on politics of region and religion. A democracy built on ethnicity does not endure. It will continue to wobble. So for the Honorable Vice President, you represent also the President. For me, we are hoping that you will build more infrastructure for us, improve the quality of education, health facilities, etc., etc. But one key thing that for the next 25 years, you will midwife, because you are starting the next 25 years, is to build a democracy that will reduce friction. The avalanche of litigations that follow every round of election in Nigeria is very embarrassing. And because of the kind of democracy we practice. The democracy built on all kinds of sentiments, either the way you worship your God or from the map of the country you come from. You will have to gradually make sure that in the next 25 years, this is diluted. If we must have a solid and enduring democracy. And I know you and the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was a key actor in the June 12 crisis, will have the capacity to navigate through that process. I believe this program and others commemorating this landmark will point the way to that glorious future and prepare the nation for a golden and centenary celebrations of enduring democracy. I thank you all. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together one more time for His Excellency Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, former President of Nigeria. And let me say thank you, Your Excellency, for that little lesson in Nigeria's history. I'm sure all the under-30s and the under-35s would appreciate a little knowledge about Nigeria's most recent history. And of course, the reminder of who the cap fits. Not very many would remember that. And a certain infamous 1 million march in Abuja, the federal capital. Of course, not forgetting the very difficult constraints under which the fourth estate of the realm had to operate in those days, including yours sincerely. Thank you once more, Your Excellency. And now for the lecture that we've all been waiting for. 25 years of enduring democracy, prospects for the future. So as we have a seamless transition from the delivery to the discussions, may I crave your indulgence to invite the discussants to take their seats by my right here, so that as soon as the guest speaker has finished delivering the lecture, they would immediately do the discussions. And let me call on the discussants. Kadari Ahmed, please take your seats there. Hamzat B. Lawal and Chido Onuma. Please be seated before I invite our guest speaker. Thank you so very much. We're looking forward to you dissecting this lecture once it's done. And now, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me now invite our guest speaker for the keynote address, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari, CFR, former Governor of Katsina State, and a former Speaker of the House of Representatives, to deliver the lecture. Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Jonathan GCFR, who is the chairman of this occasion, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, representing both himself and the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces, the Deputy Chairman, who has almost read my paper, Ambassador Babagana Kingibe, GCON, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, my boss at the APC, when we started, Chief BC Akande, my governor, the governor of Katsina State, Dr. Dukko Umar Radda, Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, Diplomatic Corps, please permit me to stand on existing protocols, because I cannot call everybody that is here. Mr. Chairman, permit me to start this short address with two things. The first is to express my profound gratitude. By Allah's special mercies, I've been lucky to be more than an ordinary participant in our democratic journey in the last 25 years, serving first as a parliamentarian, then as a Speaker of House of Representatives, and until recently as a two-term governor of my state, Many are called, but a few are chosen. I thank the Almighty for his special favor in my life. I thank Nigerians for giving me the opportunity to serve at the highest levels. And I thank you for finding me worthy of delivering the keynote address at one of the activities marking a major milestone of our democracy. I say thank you. The second is to extend my heartfelt congratulations to all Nigerians on the 25th anniversary of continuous civil rule in our country. A quarter of a century is a major milestone in the life of any organism or entity, be it an individual, an organization, or a nation. So congratulations are in order. I hereby extend my warm felicitations to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to other excellencies here present, and to all Nigerians across the nooks and crannies of our country. It is easy to take for granted how far we have come in the last 25 years and the challenges that we have confronted and surmounted in the process. That is the nature of human beings. But an occasion like this should also allow us to take a pause, look back, then look forward. Many may not remember now, but we started the Fourth Republic on a note of anxiety and uncertainty. When we set out on this journey in 1998-99, some Nigerians entertained doubts that democracy would endure for long. Very clearly, Nigerians were tired of military rule, but there was also a sense, even if not loudly expressed, that the military might soon be back. Those who refused to participate in the process at that time, and those who entertained doubts at the beginning of this republic, were not just being risk-averse or unduly pessimistic. They were relying heavily on our previous history with democracy. Recall that our first republic lasted under 6 years. Our second republic was for a little 4 years, over 4 years. And our third republic didn't really take off. Combine our experience with democracy as of 1999 was around 10 years, out of 39 years in an independent country. So it was not unusual to have doubts, secretly or openly, and to entertain the fear that democracy might be jinxed in Nigeria, or that the Fourth Republic might suffer the fate of its predecessors. It wasn't baseless fear. That sense of doubt and fear still lingered up to 2003, when we had our first post-transition election. The reason for this is simple. Things usually start falling apart after the second cycle of elections. Our first republic didn't survive the rancor and the violence that followed the 1965 general election. Neither did the Second Republic survive the turmoil that followed the 1993 elections. But we successfully broke the jinx in 2003, and here we are marking 25 years of continuous civil rule. We have broken other records in this journey. We have conducted consecutive 7 cycles of elections. Recall that we had only 2 cycles of election each in the First and Second Republics, and only one election cycle in the Third Republic, which was even annulled. In this republic, we have had transition of power from one president to another 3 times. In 2007, from President Olusegun Obasanjo to President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua in 2015. And in 2015, from President Goodluck Jonathan to President Muhammadu Buhari. And in 2023, from Muhammadu Buhari to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We didn't have such a privilege in the three previous election republics. We have also had two presidents who served out 2 terms of 8 years, and who have also had the transfer of power from one party to another. We didn't have any of such in earlier republics. Over time, too, our elections have become more competitive, as we all see from the results of 2023 elections. Our democracy can thus be said to be maturing in both age and temperament. It has been tested on many occasions, and it has stood firm. I would like to refresh our memory about 2 major moments of trial for our democracy. The first is the third term saga. As part of the constitutional amendment process in 2015 and 2006, there was a proposal for a third term for president and the governors. This was in the build-up to 2007 general election. The proposal and the moves to get it passed shook the country to its foundation. Though they didn't say so openly, and some of them continue to deny it till now, but the sitting president and most of the state governors wanted the amendment. The advocates argued that more time would be needed to deliver sustainable development. Those opposed to it felt that it was immoral for the proponents to be the beneficiaries, and that it could lead to life presidency and possibly dictatorship. I was the Speaker of the House of Representatives then, and I was privileged to be in the front row as history was unfolding. On 6 May 2006, the third term agenda was defeated. The country heaved a loud sigh of relief. It is important to remind ourselves that a major test came at a time when the Fourth Republic was still in its infancy. The Republic was just 7 years old at that time. The second test came also early in the day. This was the uncertainty that followed the sickness of President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua and his failure or inability to transfer power to the then Vice President Goodluck Jonathan. The uncertainty and the heat generated could have given the military an excuse to strike. And there was indeed some clamor and whispering in some quarters for that, but the armed forces exercised the needed restraints. The political class, with the National Assembly in the lead, deployed political sagacity to fashion out the doctrine of necessity, and the gridlock was resolved. As we mark this important milestone of our democracy, we need to specially appreciate and acknowledge our armed forces, not only for continuing to protect the country, but also for allowing our democracy to grow. It was not unlikely that during those trying periods, some politicians and other disgruntled people were winking at or encouraging the military takeover, but they refused to be dragged in. We call on our armed forces to continue in that professional and principled path. There will always be challenges in democracy, but the system has also adequate inbuilt mechanisms for resolving such challenges. We have faced other key challenges, chief of which is lingering insecurity and the threat posed to the security of life and property by terrorists, bandits, and insurgents, in different parts of the country. But we have also made progress in many other areas in the last 25 years. Look around Abuja and go around the country and compare the level of physical, social, and human development in 2024 and that of 1999. It is easy to take some of these things for granted. This is not to say we couldn't have done much better, especially in the management of our economic and social affairs. And in terms of making the country more secure, we could have done better. It is on this note that I will quickly turn to a few issues that should be on the forefront burner as we contemplate the future of our democracy. I will make 5 points in this regard. The first point is that we need to pay serious and continuous attention to the shifts in the perception of Nigerians about our democracy. It is easy to think that our democracy can continue to weather the storms because we have had 25 years of unbroken civil rule. That might be misleading. Democracy can continue to endure only when the people think it is desirable and thus worth keeping and defending. According to a 2022 survey by Afrometer, 70% of Nigerian polled prefer democracy to other forms of government. That is the good news. But 77% of those that surveyed are not satisfied with the way democracy works in Nigeria, up from 57% in 2017. This should get us worried. We need to understand why our people are gradually losing faith in democracy, and we need to consciously strengthen their faith in democracy. The second point, which is related to the first, is that we need to put more efforts in delivering the benefits of democracy to the vast majority of our people. Democracy as an idea is great, but the people cannot eat it. Scholars such as Amartya Sen, the economist Nobel laureate, talk about instrumental value of democracy, which is about how democracy should serve as an instrument for a bridge to a better life for the people. Our people call it in Nigeria dividends of democracy. People do not want democracy for its sake. They want democracy to translate to material benefit to them. They want concrete dividends from democracy. We thus need to redouble our efforts to eliminate poverty, reduce inequality, deepen human capacities, and expand opportunities in our society. My third point is that we need to pay special attention to the needs and the mindset of our youth. The youth constitute an overwhelming majority of our population today. It is projected that by 2050, Nigeria will be the third most populous country in the world, with a preponderance of young people. Nigeria can become a global economic powerhouse if we harness the full potential of our youth. To realize this benefit, the so-called demographic dividend, we need to create the enabling environment for our youth, and by extension, our country to thrive. Most of our youth are not satisfied with the system today, and they are checking out of the country in large numbers, mostly because of lack of opportunities for them to actualize their dreams. Let's create the opportunities for them to stay back at home and contribute their quota to the development of our country. On a related note, more than half of our population today are under the age of 25. This means that most of our citizens were born after 1999. This group includes a significant number of people of voting age today. I call them critical voters. It is important to pay close attention to this group of citizens. On one hand, they can be called the children of democracy. They should be natural defenders of democracy. But on the other hand, they have no memory of how bad the alternative to democracy could be, and they may not be keen about defending democracy. Our task as leaders and the elders is to sustain the faith of our youth in our country and our democracy. The first point I want to make is the need to refine our concept of local governance. We need to ensure that there is adequate, effective governance where it matters most, at the local government level, which is where most of our people live. One of the reasons why local government areas are not functioning effectively is because of the constitutional confusion about their status. On one hand, the local government areas are supposed to be autonomous of states, and all are listed in the Constitution. But the same Constitution creates joint accounts for state and local government areas, put the local government areas under supervision of states, and mandate the state parliament to make laws for LGAs, for local government areas. My considered opinion is that we should redefine the functions and the structure of local governments and remove the confusion enshrined in the Constitution on their status. This does not mean that we are going to abolish local government areas. No, but we should allow each state to decide how many administrative units it wants to have based on its resources and needs. We should also allow local governance to be adapted to local realities rather than aim for uniformity across the country. My last point is passionate appeal to my fellow politicians that the populace, we all need to continue to do our part in strengthening and deepening our democracy. Politicians need to be more sensitive to the needs and the feelings of the people. We need to continue to remember that democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. It is not just the government of the politicians, by the politicians, and for the politicians. In representative democracy, elected politicians merely hold power and trust for the people. We therefore need to prioritize the needs of the populace ahead of our own needs. We also need to become better democrats. We need to fully imbibe the culture of democracy. We need good winners and good losers. I think the former president has addressed this point very well. To be a good loser, you know what it means. It's to be accommodated. On the other part, our people also need to be more patient with the country. While 25 years of civil rule or 64 years of independence is a long time, it is just a speck in the life of a nation. Most of the countries were eager to compare Nigeria today went through the challenging moments too. They were totally different from the countries that we know 200 years ago. Nation building takes time. We also need to be more patient with democracy, which by its nature is slow and complex. Democracy is about process, which may make it difficult for issues to be addressed or resolved with immediate effect. It is not without challenges, but democracy is still the best form of a government. We need to stay faithful to it. I want to conclude this by praying for democracy to continue to grow in our land, not just in years, but also in quality, and for the overall benefit of the mass of our people. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for listening, and God bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, our guest speaker, former Governor of Katsina State and former Speaker of the House of Representatives. the Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari, CFR. Your Excellencies, just a quick announcement before we go on to the next thing, and this is appealing to participants, those in the hall at the back. It's been observed that there's been a lot of murmuring behind, and the noise consistently interferes with what's happening here. May I just appeal that we keep it a little bit quiet, especially at the back there. And also, we've heard cases of some phones ringing out. If you could just put those phones in the silent mode, I do assure you that we'll get through very quickly. And now, turning to the discussants, I'm afraid I'm going to have to put a little bit more constraint on you, but I do believe that you're quite capable, given your background and your prowess in discussing national issues, so that we've had to cut down on the time you have to 3 minutes each, and that would be what you'd be expected to do. I know it sounds a little bit Herculean, but we do have confidence that you can do it within this period. So for the discussants, time now for you to dissect what's been delivered so far in 3 minutes. We'll start with you, Kaderia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cyril. And because we have a limited amount of time, I will stand on existing protocols. In many ways, the keynote speaker, His Excellency, Right Honorable Bello Masari, has actually presented what I think is a comprehensive look at Nigeria's democracy, our journey, and our current challenges. And I'm acutely aware that I'm sitting in a hall with people, some of whom lost people in this fight for democracy, sitting before a people who work for a government led by a man that essentially fought so that we're sitting here today. Nonetheless, it is important to say clearly that democracy, as practiced in Nigeria today, is not working for the majority of citizens. And it's really, because we don't have time, it's really easy to just simplify it. You just need to look at the quality of people's lives. People are not able to have any meaningful life because they are battling with poverty. The numbers that we have suggest that more and more people are falling into acute poverty. The World Poverty Clock says something like 77 million Nigerians. Sit down for a minute and think about it. Live on less than $2 a day. $2 a day is $30,000, or 30,000 naira. That is the amount of money currently that is our minimum wage. A minimum wage that we are trying to increase, but which governors, many governors are saying they can't afford to pay. They can't afford to pay. They are riding in bulletproof cars that cost an arm and a leg. Right? They're flying in private jets and in business class seats and first class seats, and they do not see how they can reduce their own spending so that the average man can put food on the table. I am running a lot out of time, so I want to be really quick. We also have another problem in the sense that we have identity politics now being presented to us as the option for solving our democratic or our governance problems. So in the last few days, I've been seeing maps of a new Nigeria, etc., etc. There's nothing wrong with restructuring. Restructuring becomes problematic when ethnic and religious identity is the basis for it. It is not sustainable, right? We also have a country today where a lot of ethnic profiling of my people, the Fulanis, is taking place, right? Nobody is being collectively punished for the fact that you have gunmen running rampage in the east and that Boko Haram is mostly made up of Kanuri people. But Fulani people are victims of bandits and also other Nigerians. The point I'm trying to make is that democracy, for it to work, has got to be fair. If we do not sort out our judicial system and the basis of equity for everybody, this democracy is going to collapse. And my last point, because I've run out of time, and I'll say this really quickly, is that I think because we sit in Abuja, in Lagos, in all these big cities, and things seem to be functioning, we don't understand how much erosion has happened to our social cohesion. I travel for work as a journalist. I go to rural areas, I go to villages. The level of hate that has been stoked, the level of poverty under which people are living, all mean that our societies are collapsing. And people are sitting and thinking they can keep talking about democracy and elections and it will be okay. No. There's a level of reform that is fundamental, that needs to occur if this country is to survive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you. And let's go straight to the next discussant. Well, if you just hang on a moment, and we'll get through with that. Thank you. Yes. Next discussant, Hamzat Lawal. 3 minutes.
Well, thank you. Mr. President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, leaving this auditorium today, we must all reflect, and we have to be sober about where we are as a country. His Excellency Masari have given us a lot of food for thought. But I also think that we have passed in our democracy, because with the uninterrupted democracy, we've passed average, and I think that we must pat ourselves at the back. Although I'm not a youth, but I'm a young person, and I believe that I've paid my dues. I started my career in this Fourth Republic. Nigeria is still emerging, and Nigeria gives an opportunity for each and every one of us to play our own role. And for me as a young person, my question is, what role are you playing, irrespective of where you are? We can blame our politicians, but we, the populace, and particularly young people, have the highest population. Sadly, we're dealing with Japa syndrome, where we're losing talents every day. But I believe that if we reflect and we're sober, we will come to terms that the two most important ingredients that are missing is trust and peace. I've just returned from Borno, and during my time in Borno, I visited Goza. And I think we must commend our security agencies. I cannot re-emphasize or overemphasize this. We must commend them for their role in our democratic journey. But I also think that we must explore opportunities that we've not even looked at. Agriculture and technology has given us hope to explore, create jobs, create values, but most importantly, allow young people play their role in democracy so we can enjoy the dividends of democracy. As I wrap up, for us to rebuild back trust, we must follow the money. In my work, as follow the money, trying to answer where funds are coming from, where they're going to, but most importantly, how these funds are being judiciously used, particularly at the grassroots. If we're able to ensure transparency and accountability from the people who holds the hems of affairs, I believe that this will take us through the journey of rebuilding back trust and confidence, and each and every one of us will play our role in this democratic journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hamza has about 12 seconds. Perhaps I could add that to my own. All protocols observed. I'd like to preface my conversation about our democracy and the survival of our nation with the simple definition of democracy: government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And what could possibly be wrong with that? We would all agree that there is nothing wrong with that, except, of course, the people who practice the democracy. I'd like to thank the keynote speaker, former Governor Masari, for a fantastic speech. Many of the notes, thinking that we would have enough time to have conversations, really reflected many of the things he said in his speech. But I'll quickly just touch on 3 points. One is the question of the cost of this democracy. Our democracy is too expensive and it's choking us. We would have to find a way to get around it, whether it's the cost of governance, whether it's paying attention to what my co-panelist Kaderia talked about, the poverty, because then when people are poor, the resultant effects of illiteracy and so on, which then impacts on democracy. People, 25 years later, we're still struggling for a lot of Nigerians to understand how to vote, what participation in election means. What we see today in the name of democracy is the political class is busy serving themselves rather than serving the people. The second point is the issue of justice, electoral justice or otherwise. People go to vote. At the end of the day, it's the judiciary that will decide who would emerge as leaders of the country. We need to question that. We need to begin to interrogate that. Justice for the poor, justice for the rich, justice for the weak, justice for poor. But more importantly, a justice that is rooted in equity, that people have trust and faith in the system. Then finally, the question of nationhood. We can't overemphasize that. And to this end, I'm really using this opportunity to call for a national conversation about our democracy 25 years after and where we expect to be 25 years. We shouldn't be tired of talking about Nigeria. We shouldn't be tired of talking about this country. There is so much division today. The country is more divided today than it has ever been. And it's not a problem of this administration. When anybody critiques democracy or the challenges of the people, shouldn't see it as a critique of the APC government or a critique of the Bola Tinubu administration. Many of the problems we have in this country today predate this administration, but it's incumbent on this administration, of course, to take the bull by the horns and do what needs to be done. The fear and loathing in Nigeria today is destructive. We can't continue the we versus them. Kadira talked about Fulanis. I'm Igbo. If I tell you what people go through. 3-4 years ago, I was stopped at the airport in Abuja here because I wore a T-shirt and it had something to say about Biafra, and I was detained for a whole day. So we need, democracy is not just about election and voting. We need to interrogate our relationship with each other. And one quick point. One final point I want to make, and the keynote speaker touched on this, is the question of local government. Nigeria has a bizarre federalism, and therefore it's impacting our democracy. We need to understand the relationship. If you look at federal societies, whether it's Canada, the United States, Spain, and so on, the constituent powers or the groups that constitute your federation, it's either in the United States, the federal government and the state government in Canada, the federal government and the regional government. Local government are not or should be responsibility of the states. So you have the federal government and the state government. Let's remove state governments in local governments in our constitution. have a national constitution and allow the states determine how they want to run, what kind of local government they want to run. That's the only way we can improve this democracy. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much to the discussants. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, could we appreciate the discussants, Kadaria Ahmed, Hamzat Bilal, Chido Onuma. Thank you so very much. They did what we thought would be impossible, and they made their points in just 3 minutes each. A round of applause for them again. Thank you very much. Right. Now, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite the Chairman, Public Lecture Subcommittee, Hadiza Bala Usman, Special Advisor to the President, Policy and Coordination, to now come forward and thank you for attending this lecture, and that will be just before His Excellency, the Vice President, delivers his speech. Thank you.
The Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, His Excellency Senator George Akume, the Head of Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemi Osam, the Governor of my state, Katsina State, my brother, His Excellency Dr. Dikko Redda, the Keynote Speaker, His Excellency Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari, the Vice Chair of the occasion, Ambassador Babagana Kingibe, Honorable Ministers here present, diplomatic community, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to convey our appreciation for the distinguished members that participated in this public lecture. As the Democracy Day of this year, we mark a significant milestone in our nation's 25-year history of uninterrupted democracy. This day holds immense importance as we honor the sacrifices of our heroes who fought tirelessly for the freedom we enjoy today. We have spent this morning not only celebrating our democratic achievement, but also contemplating the future and the work that lies ahead of us. This is the hallmark of a country putting all its best forward for the best of our people. Our keynote speaker, His Excellency Right Honorable Masari, aptly noted in his keynote that Nigerians are yearning for tangible dividends from democracy. These legitimate expectations call for a renewed commitment to eradicate poverty, reduce inequality, enhance human capacities, and expand opportunities across our societies. This is a charge to which our administration, the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu administration, has fully committed itself through our renewed hope agenda. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who played a part in making this event a resounding success. Your dedication and contribution have ensured that this lecture was intellectually stimulating, inspiring, and educational. A special thank you goes to His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Commander-in-Chief of our Armed Forces, President Bola Tinubu, GCFR, for his contribution to a truly great democratic nation and his leadership to our country. Our appreciation goes to Senator George Akume, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, for his unwavering support. The chairman of the occasion, His Excellency Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, for his invaluable presence, his guidance, and his contribution towards the democratic growth of our great country. Our keynote speaker, His Excellency Right Honorable Masari, for coming here to deliver a very rich keynote and insightful address. I would like to thank the Vice Chair of the occasion for providing us with interim guidance as we seek to start our deliberation. Of course, our esteemed discussants, Hamzat Lawal, Kadria Ahmed, and Dr. Chido Onuma, for their thoughtful, provocating contributions. I must also acknowledge the hard work of the Public Lecture Subcommittee and the larger Interministerial Committee, ably chaired by His Excellency, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Your tireless effort behind the scenes have been instrumental in bringing this event to fruition. And to all the guests who attended this event today, we wish to thank you for your presence and participation. Your engagement is a testimony to our collective commitment to a democratic process and the future of our nations. I thank you all for listening, and God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Special Advisor to the President, Policy and Coordination, Hadiza Bala Usman. Your Excellencies, just a quick announcement. Immediately after the Vice President's address, there'll be a group photograph here. Let me just quickly acquaint you with the procedure so that we'll do that smoothly. As soon as he finishes, the first photograph will be with the Vice President, and in that photograph will be the SGF, the co-chair of today's session, the Governor of Katsina State, the guest speaker, and those in front here, including the head of service, but excluding the service chiefs at this point. The second photograph would be, they would now be joined by the honorable ministers, the permanent secretaries, and the service chiefs will join in the second photograph. That's the procedure for the photograph, but that will be after the Vice President's address. For now, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me invite the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON, to now deliver his address.
George Akume, distinguished and honorable members of the National Assembly present, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, my colleagues in the Federal Executive Council, special advisors and other senior aides to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, permanent secretaries, directors general, and heads of extra-ministerial agencies and parastatals of government, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gabin Musa, and other service chiefs present, heads of security and paramilitary agencies of government, traditional and religious leaders, former senior officials of government, elder statesmen. Mention must be made of Baba Kande and Chief Pius Akinelure, and of course Senator Shaibu. Our distinguished discussants, captains of industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. That we have sustained democracy in Nigeria for 25 years, the longest stretch in our storied past, is a testament to the enduring sacrifices of several generations of patriots. 25 years is a long time to tell the efficacy of any experiment. And our democratic experience, despite the lows and the highs, is a telling referendum on our aspiration to build a nation that serves the interests of all, a federation that has not conspired against any benign group. We are here because the alternative is a descent into diosphere. Today is a moment to reflect on our journey so far, the tragedies Nigeria survived to settle for this democracy. The fourth of such experiments must inspire each of us to play our part to honor the labor of our founding fathers and mothers, and remind ourselves of the principle that drove their resolve to build for us a diverse nation that has defied the pessimism of detached agents of anarchy. As we celebrate our past, we must also look to the future with a clear and determined vision. Today is not just a day of remembrance, it is a call to action. We must engage the young and competent, the patriotic and innovative, to join us in crafting a succession plan that secures the future we desire. It is through their strategy, their energy, creativity, and commitment that we will build a Nigeria that stands resilient against the challenges of tomorrow. Let us therefore pledge to create an environment where every Nigerian, regardless of background, has the opportunity to contribute to our shared destiny. In these 25 years, we have learned that democracy is not a destination but a journey, one that requires constant nurturing and vigilance. Our progress has been marked by both triumphs and trials, each serving as a reminder of the preciousness of our democratic principles. As we move forward, let us recommit to the values of inclusivity, accountability, and transparency, ensuring that our democracy not only endures, but flourishes for generations to come. The future of Nigeria lies in our hands, in our ability to dream, innovate, and act with courage and conviction. Let us embrace this moment with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that the path we tread today will shape the Nigeria of tomorrow. This is an invitation for each of us to participate in building a nation where every voice is heard, where every potential is realized, and where every citizen is empowered to contribute to the collective good. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I crave your indulgence to pay tribute to one unsung hero of this democratic journey. Nigerians suffer from memory amnesia, but it is pertinent to remind us that some 3 years ago, there was a clamor robustly funded for a northerner to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari. It came with a crescendo, again robustly funded and supported. In those days, a tendency emerged within the ruling party. Some of the dramatists façonnés are alive today. One of them is Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari. As a group, we were driven by a forest of ideas. But what separated us and defined us from other political groupings at that epoch was our realization that what this country needs is a unifying leader who ponders neither to ethnic nor religious agenda, who is not bound by any toxic regional solidarity, and yet known for outstanding leadership. We searched the political horizon. Our search fell on one person, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Martin Luther King said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands at times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the road, the path that led us to Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not happen by chance. This is a man who had shown a ferocious penchant, who has shown a commitment to sacrifice his comfort, a propensity of sacrificing his own well-being for the enthronement of democracy in this country. During the darkest hours of military dictatorship, when the nation was enveloped in darkness, when there were hues and cries of marginalization and of the impending breakup of the nation, this gentleman sacrificed his life, his time, and resources for the enthronement of democracy in this country. This political enigma had been caricatured But our younger compatriots must be in the know of Tinubu's memories from 2 decades past, when he was the fulcrum of opposition to the enthronement of one-party dictatorship in this country. When his contemporaries were trading their principles for a place on the dinner table in Abuja and in the process throwing their allies under the bus, he provided courageously a political alternative to the ruling party. He was fiercely ostracized, politically ostracized, and antagonized by ruling PDP. By the virtue of his commitment, his zeal, and his resources, ever a Democrat who believes in the rule of law, one by one, this gentleman retrieved the stolen mandates of Rahman Mimiko in Ondo, of Raub Aregbeshola in Oshun, of Adams Aliu Oshomole in Edo, and he has remained a veritable sanctuary for victims of political witch hunt over the years. When former Vice President Atiku Abubakar was harassed, intimidated, dehumanized, and chased out of the PDP, it was to Bodyland that he ran to. And it was the lion of the Bodyland that gave him the political structure to contest for the presidency under the platform of the Action Congress. His choices of Northerners to fly the flag of his party underline his pan-Nigerian credentials. 4 years later, the same Bola Ahmed Tinubu provided the same political structure for another Northerner, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, to contest for the presidency of this country. The likes of Baba Akande are still alive to tell the story of the emergence of former President Muhammadu Buhari as the flag bearer of the APC, and his subsequent success at the 2015 polls. He was one of the most demonized politicians in Nigerian history. He was caricatured. But the Bola Tinubu political machine took charge. They even changed the frame, the eyeglasses of the president. They humanized him by getting him to dance in Ibadan. If they met him to wear a suit and go to a church. And without the political support of the Southwest, the story could have been different. This is the unsung hero of the Nigerian democratic journey. And in the fullness of time, I fervently believe that posterity will be kind to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Thank you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. And as we did announce earlier on, the group photograph will take place here. And Chief VC Akonde, please join this first session, as well as Chief Akin Elure, please. That's the first of it, as well as, yes.
This has been quite a vibrant discussion here at the 25th anniversary of Nigeria's vibrant democracy and a symposium to highlight our special day tomorrow. We've had excellent discussions. We've also listened to keynote speakers, former President of Nigeria, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. We've now heard from the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima. He has spoken glowingly of our nation, our past, our present, and there are high hopes for our future. Participants and discussants and stakeholders and speakers are taking pictures as we speak. Nigeria has had 7 successful elections. since 1999 that has brought us to celebrating 25 years at this time. We had elections in 1999, in 2000. We've had several successful elections, 7 in all, and we can count and celebrate 25 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. Many say it's a cause for celebration. And as we listen to our discussants today, Kadira, Lawal, and our friend Chido, we got to learn that indeed there are challenges in Nigeria, one of which is acute poverty. Research shows that over 77% of the Nigerian population is living in poverty. But
thank you very much, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of this public lecture.
For the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, Africa's Farmers Broadcast Network, I'm Thelma Obaza, thanking you all for keeping our company today. God bless Nigeria.